Shalom Legulam, and welcome to our first advanced class. This is the first of many advanced class that we're gonna be having. Um, if you have taken the beginners class and the intermediate class, they were very basic. A lot of people find it kind of like hard, when they were taking those classes, and it's because the concepts are not easy. The concepts are supposed to um, be internalized, and if you are going to basically look at Kabbalah from the intellectual point of view, you will never get the point of what Kabbalah really wants to teach. And what Kabbalah actually wants to help us understand and help us basically know that the importance of the whole work that we're doing, the whole learning process, and the whole of activities, just like meditations, knowing certain names of God and all that, it has nothing to do with our own desire. It has to do with the desire to help others achieve spirituality. And when you do that, you actually are helping yourself. And in order to understand why it is important for us to understand this concept completely, is because there is one of the main, I would say, laws, universal laws that the Torah teaches and Kabbalah teaches as well, and is the real meaning of loving your neighbor as yourself. And why you need to understand this concept completely is because at the end, when you love your neighbor as yourself, what you're doing is you're loving the Creator as well. And we're going to look at those, look at that subject and explore it a little bit before we do a recap of the things that we learn from the intermediate classes, so then we can start learning about the book of Genesis with more in-depth Kabbalah, with Kabbalah, insights in it. So let's read this as our intention, as something to keep in mind as we're studying today. This was written by Rabbi Nissan D. Duvov. He's director of the Chabad Lubavitch in Wimbledon, United Kingdom, and he wrote the following in Chabad.org. The Arizal writes that all the souls of Israel may be viewed as one large body. There are souls that are the head, the Rosh, of the body, and souls that are the feet of the body. Although each soul performs its individual purpose, just as each limb of the body has a specific task, in the final analysis, they are all part of the same body. It also follows that since all souls constitute one body, the performance of mitzvah by any one limb will be healthy for the entire body. So basically, what he's saying in this portion of a whole article that he wrote about the body of or the collective soul of Adam Harishon, is that something that is very important in Kabbalah is to see that each one of us are part of this one big soul called Adam Harishon, and that many of us have probably different corrections to do, or different levels, spiritual levels. And according to our level is how we're going to perform these corrections. According to our levels is how we're going to understand certain things about Torah. But at the end, as he said, the performance of mitzvah, performance of any correction by any of these souls that belong to different limbs of Adam Harishon will be good for the entire body. So whatever you do, whatever good deed you're doing, whatever mitzvah you're doing, it will be good for the whole entire congregation of Israel. It will basically help purify it. And if you come with that intention of purifying, it is said that he who comes to purify is helped, right? So let's keep this in our mind. Let's use this as the intention of our study, that we need to understand that we all come from different parts of the body of Adam Harishon, but at the end, anything that we do, anything that we desire for the entire body, will come to us as well. How is that? By doing this mitzvah, by doing this for the sake of the Creator. All right. So let's start with the beginning. Remember, we did the study in the beginning of actually it was the beginners lessons for the Kabbalah lessons that we have. We were studying the development of the direct light, how the direct light. Okay, so this is a recap of it. I'm not gonna go in depth. If you want to know more and go in depth, go back to those classes that we had, and that way you can understand better where we're going to now in these advanced classes. So the first thing we need to understand is that there's something called atzmuto. This is something that we cannot talk about. We don't know what it is. We just have basically no information. All right, but we call it atzmuto, basically the essence of everything. Then we have shoresh. Shoresh means the root, and that's the direct light. It is considered keter, the crown. It is a pure desire to give, and it is also considered the tip of the yod of the name Yod He Vav He. Okay. So then after the direct light comes down, the Creator wants to give, right? This is a desire to give. So to who is going to give? So it creates a desire basically to receive, and we call that desire to receive a kli, a vessel, and that's Bina Dalet, Bina Aleph. Bina Aleph, or first Bina, is considered Chokmah, and it's a dependent desire to receive. And it's the letter Yod of the name Yehovah. It's dependent because it depends on the light, on the Creator. It has no independence yet. But then it starts feeling the Creator, and it starts not only feeling the Creator, but feeling that desire to give from Behina Shoresh, right? So in order to become just like Behina Shoresh, it decides to stop receiving. It doesn't receive light anymore, and it wants to give back to the Creator. This is a reflecting light, basically, and that's Behina Beit, which is Bina. Bina is basically a desire to give, but without receiving. That's the first Hey in the name Yehovah. But then it understands that in order to give to the Creator, it needs to receive a little, because if it doesn't receive, it basically it will die, right? The vessel is a desire to receive, so it needs to receive something. So it starts receiving a portion of it and reflecting the rest. That is called Behina Gimel, the third level, and it's called Ser Amping. That's the desire to receive in order to give, and is the Vav in the name Yehovah. But then when it receives and it starts giving back, it wants not only to receive everything, but it wants also the desire to be a creator, right? Like the creator. And it's so strong that it wants then everything. It becomes like basically this desire to receive, but that is dependent on the creator. In here, it becomes an independent desire to receive. It is a creature. Basically, we have something now that is, and when I say apart, doesn't mean apart for real. It's a part, basically a part of the creator that basically became the creature. Okay, so it wants to receive, became an egoistic vessel, and that's Behina Dalit or Mahut, the last He of the Yod He Vav He. And it's inside this vessel that everything else is going to happen. So what's happening is that this vessel realizes that it is very egoistic, right? So it decides that since it is an egoistic vessel, it needs to correct that. So in order to correct that, this is what the vessel does. Let me draw the vessel here. So the vessel makes a restriction, basically puts a lid on top of it. So now the light goes in, right? The light goes in, but it cannot get in. It gets reflected back. When the light gets reflected back, this is called basically a masah or intention. So what it changed was its intention. Instead of being a total desire to receive, now it wants to give to the creator. It wants to assimilate the creator. It wants to become this as equal as the creator. So now it will start a process in which it will start doing like Behina Gimel, but with different levels that we're gonna see later. But right now it decides not to receive, just like this Behina Dalet, or just like Behina Aleph, but independent. But then it decides to be like Behina Bet, which I will not receive unless it is to bestow back to the creator. So that's basically Behina Gimel's intention, to receive in order to give, right? So it decides that in order to be able to give back to the creator, it needs to little by little receive a portion of the light to certain level only. So it feels a percentage of that light, of the vessel, of the kli, but everything else inside that vessel remains totally empty. Right? It remains empty. This is what the Kabbalists call Tzim Sum Aleph, the first restriction. This process is called Tzimtzum Aleph. When the vessel makes a restriction in which I will not receive all the light because it feels, as the Kabbalah says, shame that it's receiving everything without giving anything back, and it stops receiving, puts some masach on top of it, a different intention that I will only receive if it is in order to give pleasure to the Creator. But it starts receiving, but only receive to a certain extent. It doesn't fill the whole vessel. And that's the process that is going to continue happening. Also, know and remember that at this stage, this vessel that we're going to study here, it's considered the Ein Sof, right? This is Mahut, the Ein Sof, and Mahut, the Ein Sof, is also known as Adam Kadmon. Okay? Adan Kadmon is also known as Galgalta. Galgalta means basically skull, and it is considered the Keter of the rest of all the creation, all the parts of it that are gonna come after it. So what we have here is basically a, let me see if I can get what we have is a desire of a viewed 4 with basically desire 4 with life force 4. Okay, Mahut the Mahut, to make it easy to understand. This is when we say 4 is Mahut, when we say 3 is Serampin, when we say 2 is Bina, when we say 1 is Keter, when it's 0 it's basically Shorsh. So what we have here is Mahut the Mahut. This is basically the vessel that is here with its first Sinsum. It's 4 of 4. So it receives some of the light, it rejects everything, it receives all the way to the tabur, but everything else here is empty. So it doesn't receive anything. Then there's a pressure created by the light that gets reflected, because the light that gets reflected goes around that kli, becomes or makif, surrounding light, and that or makif puts pressure into this parsuf, and also the light that goes in puts pressure inside the parsuf as well. So these two lights start creating pressure to the point that the tabur goes up all the way to the pe of the parsuf galgalta and creates parsuf hokma, which is parsuf ab. And if you want to know more about this parsuf, go to the intermediate classes, because these parsuf have their names ab, sag, ma, and bon according to the numerical value of their miluim. Basically the yohe bauhe filled with different letters, and the sum total of those letters will give you a number, and that number is the name of the parsuf. So ab is basically the number of that parsuf, 72 in this case. So we have Keter. Keter then creates Hokma by the pressure it receives from the Or Makif and the Or Pinimi. And the Or Makif, what is the purpose of Or Makif? Why does Or Makif put pressure in this parsuf? Is because it wants to fulfill the parsuf. It wants to give to the parsuf. It wants to get inside the parsuf and fulfill it properly, right? But the parsuf or the kli is not ready, so it receives direct light and it reflects it. And it's a reflection of this light that becomes the what is called the vessels of bestowal. So it receives for itself. Let me change this here. So the parsuf receives light for itself, and the light that it rejects becomes vessels of bestowal. So you're gonna have Keter, Hokma, Bina, Serampin, and Zon created in this reflected light, and that's the way the parsuf pleases the creator, or gives back to the creator. However, like I mentioned, the Or Makif puts pressure on the tabur, this area here, and the Or Pinimi does the same thing, and the tabur then goes all the way to the pe and creates a new parsuf at that level that is going to be called Parsuf Ab, which represents the Sephirah Chokmah. It's a Galgalta was Keter, this is Chokmah, and if we go back, Chokmah is basically a receiver, right? A receiver. So the same thing happened. We have another pressure from the Or Makif and the Or Pinimi inside the Tabur. The Tabur then goes all the way to the Peh and creates the next Parsuf, which is Bina. Now things get interesting in here because when Bina or Parsuf Sag appears, there is something that happens over here in the bottom part, in this area here, and it's that Bina is what? Desire to give without receiving. So Bina start now interacting with the desire of receive that is in here in the bottom. This is the most egoistic desires, the 2/3 of Tiferet and him. And Bina basically is in this area over here above the Parsa, but the Parsa don't exist yet, right? It's basically the Taburins right here that this Parsuf Bina is able to send in the light below the Tabur. Remember, all these vessels were empty. Now, with Bina, the vessels are going to receive a light. But Malchut sees that this is not the right thing to do. It's basically, it's not ready for it. It feels basically some kind of shame, just like in the beginning with Behinat Dalet, in which Behinat Dalet felt shame. So what it does is it elevates itself all the way to the bottom of the first 1/3 of Tiferet and creates what is called a Parsa. And a Parsa is basically a limit that it will not allow the light to go lower, because other than that it will create some kind of damage. And this is actually called Nekudot Desag. So keep that in mind, Nekudot Desag, because we might talk a lot about it in other classes. Then after that, we have that there is a sivug, or hitting and striking into the Rosh of Sag. Rosh is actually desire 3-2, meaning desire of Serampin, Bina. But in here, it has a sivug in desires 2-1, which is Bina Keter, Bina Chokmah, Bina Chokmah. So when that happened, is basically another. This is in Sumbet, right? When Malchut went all the way up and created the Parsa, and in Sumbet now, what it does is it has only vessels of pistol in use. So it's using only the Galgalta Einayim. Galgalta Einayim means skulls and eyes, which are the less egoistic vessels that are being used. And right now, it's gonna be like, okay, what does this have to do with anything else? Just follow with me, because you're gonna see where we're going now. So after this, Nekudot Desag makes another sivug, makes another coupling, and this coupling has to do with desire 4 and 3. Desire 4 is Malchut, which is very egoistic, and desire 3 is Seramping, which is receiving in order to give. So now what's happening is that the light goes all the way down below the Parsa as well, and it creates a breaking of the vessel Shevira Hakelim, and it was all the way from what is called the vessels of Geburah. And I'm saying this, but it's not really accurate. I'm saying this because then it will help you understand the days of creation. And it's basically Hagat Nehim, but in reality, one of those, which is a Hey that stands for Chesed, that vessel is the one that is used to start the correction in creation, which is the first day of creation, okay? But for now, just think from Geburah all the way to Malchut, the vessels broke, okay? Then after the Shevirat Hakelim, there was a Parsuf that was born out of this, and it was in a state of embryo or Ibur, and that's called Atik. And Atik was basically in a state of Ibur, then a state of Katnut, depending on the Sivug that he was making. Then when he made a Sivug, he became in a state of Gatlut, but Atik is considered independent from Tzimtzum Bet. So as you can see, it goes all the way down to the Siyum because it is ruled by the laws of Behina or Tzimtzum Aleph. This Parsuf is going to be the one that is going to create what is called the world of correction. And the world of correction, what we have is the following. The world of correction is going to be created below the Tabor. And this area here is considered Bina, and this area here is considered Malchut. So you have here vessels of bestowal and vessels of reception in this area. So then Atik basically makes like a restriction in itself and becomes Atik, but as in the rules of Tzimtzum Bet. Then from Atik, a Parsuf is going to be created, which is Arinkamping, then Ava Ve'ima, Serampim, and Malchut. And that's what we call the Olam Atzilut. Olam Atzilut actually has all these Parsufim. So Atik, Adam, Arinkamping, Ava Ve'ima, Serampim, and Nukva, which is Malchut. This is the word of Atzilus. So what really happened here in the Shevirah HaKelim before all this started to happen? So in the Shevirah HaKelim, what we have is in Nekudim Gatlut. This is 4-3. This right here, Sag 4-3. Nekudim in Gatlut, meaning that the light went all the way to the Siyum, all the way down. So what we have is 10 Sefirot of Keter, 10 Sefirot of Ava Ve'ima, and the 10 Sefirot of Sun, which includes Malchut, right? So when the light went in, what really happened was the following. It was that it destroyed these vessels, and these vessels are basically what in the Zohar and in the writings of the Arizal is called the 8 Melachim, the 8 kings that die. So how did they die? Well, they die in different stages. The first stage was here in the top with the Tamim. The second stage had to do with the Tagim. The third stage with the Atiot, and then Nekudah. So basically this is how everything happened. We have more details here, which I'm gonna. So the 4 stages of development of Avi and Yeshut is a parsuf that is next to Ava Ve'ima. Basically, it's the lower parts of Ava Ve'ima, to be more specific. So you have 8 Melachim times 4 equals 32. 32 parts of those of basically 4 stages that you see here. Times 10 equals 220, the total sum of all the kalims that broke. The first 9 are 288 kalim. The remaining 32 kalims are the stony heart, only to be corrected in Gamar Tikkun. These are all the malchuts. They're only going to be corrected when the 288 kalims are in the top, which is all the way from Keter to Yesod, are corrected. 2 Parsufim with 2 Sibugin, Avi and Yeshu are regarded as 1 Parsufim. They are known as Israel Saba, Vetevuna, or the lower part of Bina. Okay, so that's Yeshu right there. So how this process actually of the breaking happened, it happened the following way. So when the Sivug was made in the Rosh by the Desire 4-3, which is Malchuti and Serampin, what is called Tamin and Nekudot Da'at of Da'at, we're talking about this area here, right? That's where it's happening right now. Destroy the vessels of Chesed, Geburah, and Tifaret. And this is 1/3 of Tifaret, okay? Then, in the lower part of Avi, which is Yesud, right? Now it's gonna happen in the bottom as well, because whatever happened here, it will be having consequences here. So now in Yeshut, it happened in the desires 3 and 2, which is desires of Tifaret and Bina. This time the Tagin goes in and it destroys the Nesat Hod, which is a Hod and also an Enaim. This is a famous Ahab that we're gonna be talking later. Destroy Nesat Hod, Yesod, and Mahut. Okay, so that's why we have this whole area here as the Shevira Hakalim, this area here. Okay, so that's the Shevira Hakalim. So now that the whole system is basically destroyed, here in the bottom at least, these Nitzosot or lights fell all the way down to the very below the Parsa, to a place now called darkness, which is dark. It's a place now the Klipots are taking over. Now we need to fix it, right? We need to somehow fix it. So this is where Atik comes into play, because now, you know, with a different Sivug done in Metzach, it's called Metzach, which is like the forehead, Atik is born. And Atik is going to create the word of correction. And after the word of correction is created, we're going to see that there's something we can work with. Okay? So let's see. This is a Parsa. This is where, let me change that. This is where the Shevira Hakalim basically took place, right? And in here, in the bottom, all this here is basically darkness. It cannot be corrected properly unless we start working with something. Unless we start working with the vessels that are on top of it. We can work with these vessels. With the Shevira Hakalim, these vessels of bestowals and vessels of reception above the Parsa can be worked with, because they're less egoistic than these down here. Okay, so how these vessels are used are the following. First of all, everything that was Galgalta Enaim became or was used to create the word of correction, Olam Atzilut. Everything that was Ahab inside Galgalta Enaim was used to create the words of Bia, Bria, Yasira, and Asia. Everything that was Galgalta and I inside Ahab was created or was used to create the human souls. So in order to make this correction happen, the creator needed to create a word of correction, then needed to create the words of Bia and human souls. So what you're gonna find is that there's already a setting when we read the book of Genesis in which there's some things that already existed, right? But then we're gonna talk about the words of Bia, and the words of Bia are the weekdays, the days of creation, which also are considered the 2,000 years of each level, which is the 6,000 years of correction. And it's going also to create human souls, which is Adam Harishon, and the rest of us after he broke into pieces because of the sin. So now we're in this setting here, right? We have the weekdays that need to be corrected, and then the Shabbat, which is the word of Atzilut, and that's where we need basically to go back. Why? Because that's where we were basically born. Let me see if I can find. Adam Harishon was born above the Parsa. He was born inside Gan Eden, inside the world of Atzilut. Okay, inside this world of Atzilut, and everything happened in stages at that time. Okay, so for those of you who are interested, I will be posting these slides as a PDF file in the website www.receivingtheupperlight.com, just in case some of the letters are too small, and if you're writing or anything like that, I think it would be better for you to have it in a PDF. That way you can print it, you don't have to write anything. All you can write probably is the notes on top of it if you watch again this lesson, which I'm trying to concentrate a lot of information in nutshells, and sometimes it's hard to explain so much information in a simple way that people can understand. But what we need to understand is the following. Olam Asilu was created. This is after Tinsun Ben and after the Shevirah HaKelim. And the words of Bia, of the place. There's a place that was at the bottom. But this is now darkness, right? When Adam Harishon was created, he was created inside the worlds. So the words basically were born when Atik was above the Tabur, meaning Atik was in Ein Sof. Then Aren Camping, Ava Veima, and Zon were also in their proper place, and this is when the Olamot were born. And as you see here, there's a place called Mador Klipot. This is the area of the Klipot, and it's actually after the six Sephirah of the place of Yetzirah. All the way down is the place of the Klipot. Okay, and our world is right here in the bottom of all that immense universe, or spiritual universes, as we can say. The word of Genesis, where the book of Genesis starts in this area here. This is where we're going to start the book of Genesis, in Olam Habriya, the world of creation, Olam Habriya. So you can see Bria, Yasira, and Asya. They're in a high state, right? But when Adam sins, then all this is going to fall down, including Asya, to the place of the Klipot, okay? Which is what we see here. So it's all the places, right? But when Atik was born, we're going to see that Bria was basically created, then Yesirah, then Asya. Then Adam Harishon was born inside the world, so he resides in the middle of the Garden of Eden, which is Alam Atzilut, and it was done through three ascensions. And these three ascensions are basically the three ascensions before Shabbat, before basically Shabbat is received. It is says that Adam Harishon was born in the 5th hour before Shabbat, and that he was supposed to wait for Shabbat in order to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because he needed to eat first from the tree of life, which is in the Garden of Eden, right? And then after that, he was able to use these vessels of reception that are down here. But what really happened was Adam Harishon started then dealing with the vessels of reception, and that place is a place of Mador Klipot, place of the Klipot, and that's what is called the serpent, uh, the force that divides everything in creation. So Adam Harishon goes through a process very similar, if not the same way, as the Shevirat HaKalim. He receives the light before he was ready, and all the vessels were broken, just like in the Shevirat HaKalim, and that caused all the worlds that were above the taboo, like Atik was above the taboo, then Arin Camping, then Ava Veima. Then all of a sudden other words fell down, and Adam Harishon now, together with the words of Bia, it's in the Mador Klipot area. So all these lights now are trapped and now needs to be released. And how do we do that? We do that by start raising ourselves back to the state of Adam Harishon, where we were before. And that's basically by these ascents. Once again, we start going up, and to the point that we start being similar to the Creator. We become the Adam Harishon once again. And that's the whole point, the whole goal of Kabbalah, is to become that method that will help you achieve this. And this is just a recap of all the things that we have talked in the beginners lessons and in the intermediate lessons. If you want to know more about it, go to the other lessons in which I go into more details on all this. But this is the purpose of creation, is to go back up, And when we go back up, what you're gonna see is that in here, in Bria, there's a start. There's one of these 8 kings that died, that he really didn't die completely. He was somehow purified. And in the Torah it says about this king that actually mentions the wife of this king, meaning that he was a full parsuf. He was basically purified, and that's the Sephirah that we start in the book of Genesis, which is the Sephirah Chesed, and that's the first day of creation. And then we're gonna start looking on all that. So we're going to be using in this advanced lessons, we're gonna be using a book that I wrote recently. It's called Opening the Gates of Creation, and this book is available in a link that I have in the description below, and also in our website is there, so you can go and buy if you can. If you cannot afford it, please go to the website www.receivingtheupperlight.com and let me know, and we'll try our best, to send you a PDF form to your email so you can have the book and follow the classes, with this book. Because when I wrote this book is not basically, for me to profit or anything like that. This book was done with the whole intention to use it as a guide for these type of classes, which are going to be performed also uh, live in sometime soon. For those who are interested, let me know if you're interested in live classes in which you can ask questions and all that. uh, Go to the website and go to the contact page and submit your interest in whatever you need as well, uh, not only for live classes. If you have any questions, I will try to answer. And also the Facebook page, we have there, also some information that are only for the members of that Facebook page. And if you're there, you can ask questions right there, and we will benefit probably the whole group as well that are in the Facebook page, because they will see the answer and they will use that also as a way actually of you asking for something, receiving, but at the same time you're giving to others. It's a way to, it's a prayer as they call it. You pray for something that everybody else needs to receive, and that's what a question is all about. And any question, Shelah, receives a teshuvah. A teshuvah means an answer, but teshuvah also means returning or giving back the hay. So it's the last hay of the Yohevah that is in the bottom, returning it back to the point where it is a bestower, the state of Bina, from Malchut to Bina. Okay, so everything that we do in life, if you pay attention to the concepts of Kabbalah, you know what it is, Bina, Malchut, and if I'm acting more like a Malchut, or if I'm acting more like a Bina, if I'm like a Seramping, or what kind of forces are actually at play in certain aspects of society and all that. So please, this was just a recap. I don't expect you to know everything that we have covered here, but if you would like I said before, go to the website, and there you're gonna find all the lessons. And also, if you have questions, submit them there, and I will answer them as soon as I can. Okay, so remember the beginning, in which we talk about the intention for this lesson. And the intention for this lesson was that we are all one body. We have all different levels of soul. We come from different parts of that body. But at the end, if we do the right thing, we will do good to the entire body. So if we're studying Kabbalah for the intention to please the Creator, for the intention to also help others, we're doing it as well for the entire humanity, because if we are all one body. Okay, so I'll leave you with that, and in the next lesson we're gonna talk about a subject. It's not gonna be a long lesson. It's gonna probably be a short lesson. It's called, and it's based on one of the themes inside the book. It's called On Letters and Speech, the DNA of Creation. So that will be our next lesson. So that's all for now. Thank you for being in this first class. It's kind of confusing, all the subjects, because everything was in a nutshell, but I hope you get something. I'll see you in the next lesson. Shalom.